구원해준 나의 천사 나의 세상 난 이상 새 고향이 널 만나러.
There's my voiceover in the background, so feel free to mute if you had preferred to watch silently. Jimin was walking toward his class, just like any other day. He wasn't on time, it was already pretty late. But as always, he didn't care. He entered without asking the professor for permission, not offering a glance to anyone in the room. He didn't look at her, not once. His steps were slow, almost too calm, as he made his way to the last seat in the room. He sat like nothing around him mattered, like the world outside his head didn't exist. Wyan turned to look at him, eyes quietly searching for his, but his gaze was fixed straight ahead, cold, distant, unbothered. He didn't even flinch, not a single twitch in his jaw, nothing, just silence. It stung. A bitter, sharp ache bloomed in her chest. Jimin had been ignoring her for days now. No texts, no return calls, not even passing a glance in the hallways. Just silence, a silence that felt heavier with every minute. They weren't in a relationship. No, not officially, but there was something between them. Something real. Maybe it was friendship, maybe something more. She didn't know what to call it, but it had weight. And it meant something to her. She had feelings for him, real ones. It started small, how he waited when she tied her laces, how he bought her a drink without asking, the way he held her when she hugged him, the way he kissed her back that night without hesitation. No, she hadn't confessed, not with words, but didn't their actions say enough? The warmth in his arms, the softness of his voice when she cried, those things weren't imaginary. They weren't one sided. At least that's what she believed, until now. When the class entered and the professor walked out, the room filled with movement and noise. Students turned to their friends, laughter bubbling between rows. Some scrolled through their phones, but Wyan didn't waste a second. She stood up quickly and walked straight toward him. Jimin was already up, ready to leave, but before he could walk away, Wyan stepped in front of him, halting his path. Her heart raced, but she didn't move. Jimin, what's wrong? What did I do? She whispered, not caring about the eyes on them. Why aren't you answering my calls? Did I do something that upset you? Her voice trembled, small but steady enough to hold him there for a second. Move aside, he muttered, still not looking at her. His eyes darted anywhere but hers. But she didn't move. She stepped in closer, closing the space between them. I will, but I need answers. Is this because of the kiss? She asked, her voice cracking under the weight of her own doubt. Can you move? He growled, his tone low and sharp, slicing through her already fragile heart. Her stomach twisted in pain, and yet she refused to step back. No, answer me, she pleaded, reaching for his wrist. But he yanked his arm away like her touch disgusted. Which part of more away didn't you understand? Get a life. He snapped, loud, cruel, and loud enough for everyone to hear. The whole room went silent. She flinched hard, her breath catching. Tears spilled down her cheeks, uninvited and unstoppable. Jimin kicked a chair out of his path in frustration and stormed out of the room, leaving behind only echoes of slammed metal and gasping silence. Ryan stood frozen. Her tears didn't ask permission. They just fell, and in that room full of people, she never had felt more alone. Ryan entered the class next day, and she had made up her mind. She wasn't going to chase him, not anymore. If he wanted her gone, then gone she would be. She would disappear from his world completely without a trace. She would do worse than what he asked. She wouldn't even breathe the air around him. She wouldn't flinch at his presence. She wouldn't give him a second chance. This wasn't what she expected from him, especially not after the case they had shared. His hands were gentle that day. She could still feel them, brushing her skin like she was something precious. He had held her like she might shatter. His lips never left her face, soft and searching like he meant it. And yet he left her crushed. Should she have listened to everyone who warned her to stay away from him? Maybe their whispers were right. Maybe the cold boy who smiled only sometimes was never meant to hold her heart like hers. The professor walked in and started the class. She focused on him, her notebook, the board, anything but the boy she used to search for in every crowd. She kept her eyes forward, frozen and calm, like Jimin did not even exist. Jimin entered right after the professor, his steps slower than usual. His gaze flicked toward Yan for a fleeting second, but she did not look, not even shift off of her eyes. She did not blink in his direction. She did not move an inch. He tilted his head slightly, studying her, then walked to his seat at the back, slouching into the chair. But his eyes drifted again to her, her hair, her side profile, her silence. She hadn't turned to him once, not even accidentally. She sat like his presence was nothing, like even acknowledging him would ruin her peace. And Jimin watched until his thoughts blurred. Her hair fell softly across her shoulders, her lashes fluttered, her cheeks full and warm, her lips soft and quiet. His favorite part, her neck, the place he had buried his face in that night, the spot where her scent had lingered on his skin, and now she would not even spare him a look, but he could not take his eyes off her. Wayan sat in the cafeteria, eating like the world around her did not exist. Her eyes stayed on her tray, her hands quiet and steady. The voices, footsteps, and movement all faded into the background. It was just her and the food. Far across the room, Jimin sat with his own tray, but his attention was on her. His eyes had not left her. As he sipped his drink from the metal can, he watched her. His eyes followed the soft lines of her expression, her lashes, the slight twitch of her lips when something tasted good. He chewed slowly, almost forgetting his own food, as his gaze stayed fixed on her like a habit he could not shake. When Wayan finished her meal, she picked up her tray and turned to walk toward the trash bins. But as she moved through the crowd, she bumped into someone, a boy from another department, who had not seen her coming. She stumbled slightly, but the boy's hand was quick and gentle. He caught her, steadying her with the palm against her waist. It was not inappropriate, it was firm, careful. He made sure it should not fall or stain her clothes. Wayan turned around quickly, her eyes wide with surprise. "Thank you," she said sincerely, nodding at him. The boy offered a warm smile before taking his hand off her. "Take care," he replied, then walked away into the crowd. She let out a breath, relieved she had not spilled anything. With her tray still in her hand, she exited the cafeteria, her hand slightly down, her mind somewhere else. She didn't know who had seen it or what it looked like. Jimin had seen everything, and his grip on the can in his hand tightened. His jaw clenched. He crushed the can before he realized it, the leftover drink spilling down his fingers, but he did not care, not even one bit. Possessiveness and jealousy surged in his chest, uninvited and unstoppable. He did not know what hurt more, watching her smile at another guy or knowing she did not even look for him anymore. Wayan walked down the quiet road that night, heading home after her part time job. Her headphones were in, music softly filling her ears as she kept her head down. Lost in her usual thoughts, the streets were nearly empty, just another ordinary night. But then something caught her eye. Movement. A blur of shadows in the alley up ahead. She pulled her headphones out, slowing her steps. Her heart skipped. There, under the dim glow of broken streetlight, was Jimin. He was in a struggle. He was surrounded by a group of men. He moved fast, dodging and striking with fierce resolve, but they weren't backing down either. He fought like something was burning inside his chest. Vian froze, eyes wide, breath caught. She didn't know whether to run or scream. But something inside her moved first. Her feet. She sprinted toward him without thinking, heart pounding. Jimin, she shouted. He turned, a trickle of blood on his lips, eyes wild until they met hers. His expression changed instantly. Why and go away, he said quickly. But she stopped in front of him. She had forgotten everything. All she saw was him, wounded and cornered. Why and please, he said again. Before either of them could react, the men shifted and surrounded them. Two of them grabbed her arms, pulling her back roughly. Vian gasped, struggling, but they was too strong. Her hands were yanked behind her and tied. Her eyes darted to Jimin in panic, but he was held down too. Isn't she the girl your father was talking about? One of them sneered. Jimin's pulse flared. Don't touch her, he growled. Before he could move, they struck him hard from behind, forcing him to his knees. He coughed, pain spreading through his body, but his eyes never left Vian. She was crying now, her voice breaking as she called his name. They kept hitting him, shouts and fits echoing, but all he saw was her. One of the men turned toward Vian, hand raised as she screamed and fought to pull away. Fear flooded her face, but before they could reach her, Jimin moved, swift and sure. He pulled something from his jacket. The others paused as he lunged forward. A scuffle broke out, chaos unfolding around them. Jimin was pushed, kicked, grabbed, but he fought through it all. They reached for him, but he managed to free the knots binding her wrists. Her hands dropped, numb and untied. He took her hand in his grip steady. Run, he whispered. And they did, feet pounding the pavement as they fled the alley. The angry shouts behind them faded, swallowed by the darkness as they disappeared into the night. When Jimin and Wayan were far from them, the angry voices behind faded into silence. The night swallowed the chaos, leaving only the sound of their footsteps and their rapid breathing as they turned into a narrow corner, dark, hidden, barely enough space for two. The small alley curved inward, cloaking them in shadows. They stood close, their backs against the cold walls, breathless. Jimin's eyes scanned their surroundings, sharp and protective. Every muscle in his body remained tense, prepared for everything. Wayan's face was just inches from his. Her hand moved without thinking, fingers brushing against the cut on his lip. It was light, tender. He froze at her touch, his breath falling warm and shaky against her skin. Their eyes locked.